Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. My guest today, Marco van der Heuvel, co-founder of the Bean Foundation. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Roto. Thank you for having me.
So your career is extremely diverse, mainly in gaming. I think before we get into the Beam Foundation, which is sort of what you're doing now, we have to unpack a bit of what it is that brought you here. So how did you get into crypto?
That's quite a story. It feels like forever.
We've got 40 minutes. We've got 40 minutes of premium Zoom time.
That's the nice thing about podcasts. You don't have to rush. You can just get into it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's a pretty funny story. I actually signed up to study abroad in the States back in 2017. And I basically asked back then uni, hey, which other people are going? Met this guy who would be, end up being my future roommate. And this guy was like, Marco, you need to have 10K to study in, the States. It's not going to be for another year. What are you doing with this money? Why is it sitting on the bank? Have you heard of Bitcoin? So this is like this most random story, and I still love it today. He's still a really good friend of mine, but I got, full down the rabbit hole. And I was amazed.
He literally red pilled you. Yeah, it's like
I know. Yeah, exactly. And I've always been a gamer, and we'll get into that tonight as well. But I feel like as a gamer, you understand, virtual currencies, digital goods. And to me, Bitcoin was something like, wow, this makes sense. And I just spent a full year educating myself back then. I think 2.5K when Bitcoin was when I started. Just spent a full year learning everything I could about it until I moved to the States. And I think from there on, that just only, added fuel to the fire to just wanting to keep learning about it, starting, my first business in the industry. And that all led to where we are today. So it's been quite a roller coaster.
What did you use? What did you use? When you said you spent a full year educating yourself, was it YouTube videos, with blogs, with friends? What was it?
A lot. And at the same time, nothing, because there wasn't too much out there yet,
I was about to say, because those were early days still.
Yeah, and I feel that's the case for people that say, hey, I've been here since 2013, 2014. But back in 2017, I was using Bitstamp. I think there were some videos on YouTube, but not much. I downloaded Telegram and I got into those random groups, and people were back then sharing white papers. Nowadays you have a tweet with a ticker. Back then people were sharing white papers, and you would actually spend the time reading them because there weren't that many projects out there yet. I just started learning, hey, what can... Besides Bitcoin, got into Ethereum, what are smart contracts? What can normal businesses do with blockchain? And so one of the first things I got involved with was a decentralized search engine that's rewarded users for using the engine, as well as the real estate side where they had, fractionalized real estate. You could buy a piece of a house in the States as a Dutch person, and slowly got it, into the different things among gaming.
What did you study?
I study international business and languages. So more on the marketing side, that is.
International business. So, no offense, but that's out there. How has that helped you at all?
It helped me to speak languages. That's one thing. So I definitely improved my English.
It's so funny to me. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think the thing it contributed most to nowadays, first of all, I do have somewhat of a marketing understanding. I didn't do much with it in life, but I do have a lot of knowledge there. But I think mainly it got me to move to the States for my study abroad, where I learned that there were a lot of young people starting businesses. It was peak bull market early 2018 when I moved there, and I was spending more time at crypto conferences than in school. So it helped me to really make a network, I would say, and just go for it basically.
Yeah, because the European startup scene, no offense, but it's not. I don't know if you've noticed, it's not the biggest. It's not setting the world alight. That's a bad. Okay, this in the
blame regulation, maybe no.
yeah, maybe, but like you said, everything happens for a reason. So okay, cool.
Right.
So then you get into gaming.
Yeah.
What, how, where?
It started, I mean, as a child, I was always kind of addicted to gaming. I learned my first English words,
Mm,
in gaming rather than in school, and it was through
I
RuneScape.
can see the Game Boy right there.
Exactly. And if you look at RuneScape, it's an MMO. You have buying and selling stuff. I remember not knowing what the word buy or sell meant. I knew I would have like fish in my inventory that I wanted to sell. Now I know it's selling. I would just spam buying fish, selling fish, and I would look when someone puts up the money. I knew that that was the right word. That's how I learned, at a young age. First of all, English, but also market dynamics. And
Yes, supply and
that
demand.
whole that whole gaming journey, I've always been more involved in the economic side of games than actually playing the games. I've never been on a top leaderboards in any game per se, but I still play games like League of
Okay,
Legends. But with
okay,
RuneScape, when CryptoKitties came, and later even more so Axie Infinity came around, I was like, hey,
yeah.
this is something I do understand. So yeah, got involved in Axie Infinity very early on as a breeder of those really funny characters, and started selling
Hmm.
them, and ultimately started a gaming guild. And that is all snowballed into the meritocracy brand, now Beam. So that's how Beam started.
It's so interesting you say that, breeding these things and then selling them, because when, or well, back in the day, how an entrepreneur would have started is maybe selling sweets at school, or,
Maybe,
you
yeah.
know,
You need to
stuff
earn
like
some
that.
money to grow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now in the digital age, is we've moved completely away from that aspect and into sort of that culture of, I can take things online, or I can take information or know, and I can sell that on to other people, which just
Pretty
opens
much.
up that whole globe for you, because your market used to be your neighborhood, right? Who wants, or your
It's
school,
worldwide
whatever.
now.
Now it's
You
worldwide.
don't
So
even know who your
okay.
buyer is. That's the funny thing, right?
No, I know. It's just like, who wants fish, man? And let's go.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly.
okay, okay. So Beam Foundation, right? What exactly is it?
It's a good question, really, because I feel like we're in the midst of a lot of things happening, which we'll get into as well.
Yeah,
But we're
because crypto is not a
it's fast
static thing.
moving.
It's a lot. It's fast moving. You think you're doing one thing, then you're pivoting. And I try to
Exactly.
explain to people that. But what? Okay, cool. So what is it? What? Let's first
What is
talk
it
about
now?
what
Where are we
is it
going?
now, and
Yeah.
then where do you think it's going?
So the way I like to explain it now, and it's funny if you maybe listen back to some other podcasts, it might have been a bit different, half a year ago, a year ago. But what is now? I would say
Always.
we're a key player within the Web3 gaming industry. We have
Hmm.
one of the largest treasuries in Web3 as well. And throughout the years, we've used that to invest in over 80 different studios. We've actually built our own network, which is in the midst of the overall towards the L1 that we'll get into as well
Yeah.
with the
Like a
nodes.
VC company almost,
Well, in a bit, yeah. We
in a
wanted
sense.
exposure,
Yeah.
yeah, in a sense. We wanted exposure to game studios, and we wanted
Mm.
exposure. We've been investing in AI early on as well in a project called Aether, among others, and
Okay.
that just
What is AFIA?
really
Sorry, I'm just curious. What is AFIA? I haven't heard of it.
TLDR there. It has everything to do with decentralized,
Nice. Nice.
decentralized cloud computing, which can be used
Okay.
to train, AI models, or it can be used for cloud
Hmm.
gaming, the connection back to gaming. AI, in my opinion, is very connected to gaming and is going to play a huge role there. But
How
to
does it stack up? Sorry, how does it stack up to
Mhm.
AWS, in terms of, which is a centralized, and you're just saying decentralized? Is that the way you think the guys are moving?
In a way, I feel it is. I mean,
Mm.
it's a good question. I mean, it's still growing, it's still evolving. I
Early.
think
I
I
know
like
it's
the
early.
idea. I like the idea. I mean, Amazon has this too, of course. They have nodes all over the world, so it's not like they will
Mm.
just go, offline randomly. It happens at times, but very rarely. I feel like the
Yes.
decentralized aspect comes into place where now it's not only decentralized and always up and running, but you can also get a piece of
Mhm.
a pie by helping
Mm.
to grow and maintain that network. So
Yeah.
it's just a more, well, yeah, the word says a decentralized network where everyone participates.
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
recently burn some tokens? Is that right?
Yep, we
How
burn a lot
much
of
did
tokens.
you burn? And sort of explain to the people that might not know, like, why do you burn tokens? What does it
Mhm.
mean and why do you do it?
It's a good question. So
Mm.
I just mentioned, right, we're in the midst of this overhaul from, so kind of to
Yes,
finish what
yes,
Beam
yes,
is maybe
yes, yes.
first and then get into the burn side.
Yeah, sure.
So we've, by investing in those different studios, different companies throughout the
Mm.
years,
Mm.
we got a lot of learning lessons from them. What are they looking for in Web3? What are their pain points? What do they want to see change? And Avalanche had for us kind of the perfect playground to build our own private, network where we were able
Mm.
to develop tooling, basically a product suite, catered towards those game developers that wanted to get into blockchain technology, but maybe weren't
Mm.
sure how or don't want to deal with all
Yes.
the technical aspects themselves.
Yeah.
And that subnet, that basically Avalanche network, Avalanche upgraded their technology so you can now, instead of a subnet, have your own L1. And that basically
Mm-hmm.
means you have your private blockchain, you have your private environment, let's call it that way, that can connect to all those other private environments in a very easy and convenient way. But with that,
Mm.
you can have your own token as the gas fee, which is for us a really big benefit. And you can have your own, tooling perfectly, function towards the way that you designed the blockchain.
Okay.
With that upgrade, there needs to be a decentralized network. We want to, just like I explained with Aether, you want to have people all over the world that help run that network. They get a piece of the pie, they get rewarded, incentivized to do that, help it up and running, but also make sure that there's no
Community.
fraudulent transactions going through the blockchain. So they help validate it.
Mm-hmm.
With that recent node mints that we had, I believe we generated around $73 million in fees. So there was a really big, appetite for those nodes. All of those fees, the entire mint goes towards burning Beam tokens. And
Mm.
we enable people to participate through different networks just to make it easier to buy nodes. So you don't have to, bridge it to one network if you're in another. And all those
Mm.
tokens, be it USDC, be it AVAX, be it ETH, they all go to buying back Beam and burning those tokens. And yeah, it is a good question, why you would do that. For
Why
us,
you would do that? Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people have asked us, and yeah, we've had that question. Why not put it in a treasury? And to us, I mean, first of all, sure, there were participants that minted nodes with a different token than Beam. But for us,
Mm.
it's really, we already had, like I said, one of the largest treasuries in the industry. So fundraising is not our goal. Our goal was really
Okay.
to kickstart this L1, make sure that a lot of
Mm.
people participate so that we have a very decentralized network and make
Mm.
sure that it is in a way structured that it's not going to dilute the Beam holders and make them unhappy, but rather contribute to the ecosystem and makes, the Beam holders, the Beam participants happy. In this case, by burning those tokens instead of, using it as a fundraiser, I would say. So yeah, again, it's not a race. It was a node
Mm.
mint. Yeah, towards that L1 network.
Because it sounds, yeah, but because when you said 73 million dollars, it's like, oh, that's a lot of money, and then
Yeah.
people's minds race and we are thinking of other things, and that's why I'm sort of
Yeah.
asking you that question.
Can
So
imagine.
so I think I kind of understand where you are now. Where
Mhm.
do you think you are going to be, or where do you want to be? But given what the market might do or not do,
Mhm.
because you might, there's two ways you can look at the future. It's what you want to do, and it's
Yeah.
what the market sort of pushes on you to do. And those two, I think, somewhere founders, the ego gets in the way, because I've
Yeah.
got this vision, I've got this, and it needs to be, and it's like, dude, that's not what's, you're either too far ahead or you missed the
Yeah.
train. And then
I
that's why I
mean,
see the crash and burn.
exactly. I mean, if you told me, 4 years ago when I was breeding an Axie that Beam would be where it is today, I'd be mind blown, to be fair.
Exactly.
Um, so we've had our fair share of pivots throughout, the past few years.
Mm.
That to say, I feel like we're in a really good position now. We know where we're going. We know, where 2025 is going to bring us, depending, of course, on how the markets work, how Web3 gaming is going
Mm.
to evolve, how AI is going to evolve. But we recently, and we do this every year, we put out a Medium article that, both looks back at previous year, but also looks forward into the next year. And I
Mhm.
wonder, have you ever heard of the so-called term shiny object syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah, so I read that, we have a great writer and he put, shiny object syndrome as one of the pitfalls in Web3. And I
Mm.
think where you mentioned, your ego could get in the way. I feel like with a lot of projects too, that shiny object syndrome gets in the way of their success because
Mm.
to put this in a really practical example, when we started, it was all play to earn. Then it went to gaming guilds because they're not tied to one game. They can, have this overarching ecosystem. Then we went to maybe a bit more recent example, Telegram Open Network, where Telegram games
Mm.
became popular. And you saw a lot of studios that initially announced to be developing a AAA title now say, hey, guys, we're developing this Telegram game. Come and join us. And if you ask them, why don't you focus on this AAA title? Why this side game? And a lot
Yes.
of studios, they would say, this is going to be our marketing tool. Have you seen how many users there are on Telegram? But
It's crazy.
those people are not necessarily those hardcore gamers for a AAA title. And very often, in fact, it's a way for them to hopefully raise some more money because they're at the end of their runway. And now we
Yes.
see that same thing happen with AI and AI agents, where you see those studios again abandoning their Telegram game, going into AI. And that's exactly what I mean with shiny object syndrome. You're not getting everywhere because the grass is always greener somewhere. And you'll want to chase
Mm.
it.
Mm.
I feel
And that's
like,
AI agents, right? So sorry. That's for
well,
me. It's AI agents seeming to be the new buzz thing.
it's definitely the new buzz. There's hype. I do, like I said way in the beginning of the podcast, I said AI is going to play a really big role in gaming. I think AI
Mm.
agents too, they're going to play a massive role in the world economy, but also in gaming. Um,
Yes.
but there's also a lot of fluff there, obviously, because it's new, it's shiny, and there's going to be a lot of people working on it that don't necessarily have experience with it. So
Mm.
to go back to where I wanted to go with Beam is that we've had our fair share of pivots. We also went from guilds towards indeed more of the investment side, towards the whole ecosystem and tech side, towards also having investments in AI. But first of
Mm.
all of those pivots stayed really close to our roots and core beliefs that we always had and put in,
Yeah.
the presentations that we've given. And second of all, we have the treasury that
Yes.
we have to and should be, thinking bigger than just Web3 gaming that still has to prove itself. So if I then
Yes.
go back to your question, what is 2025 going to look like? What is the future for
Yeah.
Veeam going to look
What are
like?
you? What are you going to target with that treasury? Tell me.
What are we going to do? So we have right in front of us that L1 upgrade, right? With the nodes that we talked about.
Yeah.
We announced the Beam Ventures is actually the first approved gaming fund in Abu Dhabi, which is a big deal. It's going to be 100, targeting 150 million plus funds catered towards gaming. And I already mentioned AI as well. I still,
Yes.
think that that's going to only grow more and more from here. I already mentioned our investment in Aether and how that, links back to gaming with
Yes.
cloud gaming. Um, we're only going to, play a bigger role there too. So in a way, we will, somewhat keep pivoting as well. But it is in a way that
Mm.
really perfectly fits our product suite, what we developed. It fits, our treasury, our investment thesis. And 2025 is going to, quite frankly, see a lot of games launch as well, including games that are using
Mm.
the Beam tech stack. And so I'm just really excited to see games that actually are going to pull in numbers that we haven't seen before, in terms of monthly active users. That hopefully some of them use the Beam tech and can show what everybody looks like at scale.
How many Telegram gamers do you guys reckon are there active? So let's say on a monthly basis.
Let me very quickly look up how many monthly
Cool,
active.
and I'll talk while you do that. Sorry, I'm not Rogan. I don't have a Jamie. Jamie, pull that up. Here the guest has to pull up their own fact checking.
I
Um,
know.
so why and why I asked that is because are you seeing an increase? Is it a decrease? Does this thing still have legs to grow? We've had the issue of the CEO being arrested over privacy concerns, and obviously
Yeah.
that's not always a great thing for a platform. But then again, you've got a multi-billionaire who admits to using ketamine and is number one playing gamer for Diablo in the world. So I mean, what does that say
It's a
for a
strange world.
platform?
I
So
mean,
it's
2024 felt like what the hell is happening? You have
what
Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. You have Elon tweeting memes. You have a lot of social media go back to uncensoring, whereas they initially said that we aren't censoring. It's a weird world. But yeah, to your question, I just looked it up. There's 950 million monthly active users on Telegram, according to an article from January 1st. So that's a massive number.
Sorry, how much? We cut out
950
there. How much?
950 million monthly active users, according to an article from the 1st of January.
950 million.
450
That
million
is
daily users. Mind blowing. Yeah, so I get that studios say, hey, have you seen how many users there are on Telegram and how many gamers there are worldwide, which also is in the billions? It's easy to target
I
those,
knew it was.
but
Sorry, I'm generally, you just
it's
blew my
massive.
mind because I knew it was a lot. That's why is WhatsApp not set up fundamentally in a way that it can mirror or copy? Because we know Zuck likes to
Well,
look off other people's homework and
if I look at it myself and take it back to gaming, I don't want people to have my phone number. They'll be ringing me at night. I've had, when markets went down, I've had really nasty messages from people. I was very happy they didn't know where I was located. They didn't know what my phone number was. For phishing attempts, 2FA purposes. Telegram, just use a simple username. You can use group chats by simply searching for them. There's so many features in Telegram that are so far away from what WhatsApp has to offer that I love Telegram.
But do you think it's copyable? Sorry, I just now out of curiosity.
I mean, everything is copyable. I mean, we live in a world where, I mean, gaming is based on modding, it's you mod an old game, there's a new game. The whole world is based on copying. So yeah, it could be theoretically copied, but it's also a matter of network effect. It's people that use it. It is communications, community. There's so many variables to making this successful that maybe we'll see another, contender more on the left wing now that they're not happy with, the other social media platforms going more right wing. I don't know. We'll see.
And we'll leave it there before we get flagged again. Marco, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and the Beam Foundation, where can they do that?
They can just join us on Telegram. We have a Telegram group there, or check us out on X. We have the Beam Foundation account there and built on Beam. I would say check our Medium post that I talked about, looking forward into 2025. You know exactly what we're going to work on and what we'll be doing. And that gives you a good TLDR to join the conversation on Telegram, which pretty much is a 24/7 AMA.
Awesome. Yeah, emails are obsolete. You heard it here first. No one uses emails anymore.
Oh, cold.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. I will catch you in the next one.
Feeling confused, didn't know if it was right. You texted me in the middle of the night. Didn't make much sense, but I think I got it right. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. Place, can't stop laughing in your arms. Day after day, something growing in your mind. We met on the moon. You were dancing in the dark, feeling confused, didn't know if it was right. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. The with you.